Hello and welcome. In our lesson today, we're just going to slow things down a bit. Think of this as a calm, focused session to help you build your English vocabulary and your confidence. We're going to go through 20 really essential words and phrases. Sound good? Okay, let's get started.
So, here's how we're going to do this. I've broken down our 20 words into 4 neat little groups. We'll start with some basic actions and ideas and work our way up to more complex emotions. And then at the very end, I'll share a really important tip to help you actually remember everything we've talked about. All right, let's jump into our first section. These are words that you'll probably come across every day. They're all about basic actions, descriptions, and ideas. Okay, our very first word is blow. Now, blow is a verb, an action. It simply means to move air. You know, like when you feel the wind blow against your skin. And you'll often hear it paired with the word out to make a phrasal verb, blow out. That just means to put out a flame with your breath. So a perfect example is, it's time to blow out the candles on your birthday cake. Next up, we have a whole family of words. The main verb is criticize. When you criticize something, you're judging it, and usually it's in a negative way. The act of doing this is called criticism. The person who does it, that's a critic. And the adjective we use to describe this is critical. So you could say something like, my teacher is very critical of my work, meaning they find a lot of faults. All right, number 3 is the word bare. Bare is an adjective, so it's a describing word. It means something is uncovered or maybe empty. For instance, if you're not wearing any shoes, you are barefoot. Your feet are bare. It can also mean empty of something, which we'll look at in just a second. Okay, let's move on to the word creature. A creature is basically any living thing. We usually use it when we're talking about animals, especially ones that might seem a little strange or interesting. You might say, what kind of creature is that? A couple of similar words you might see are being or entity. And the last word for this first part is ratio. A ratio is all about the relationship between two different numbers or amounts. Let's say you have a class with 10 students and 1 teacher. The ratio of students to teachers is 10 to 1. Now try not to get this mixed up with proportion. That's more about a part compared to a whole. Or a portion, which is like a serving of food. Okay, let's look at that example for bare again. The sentence is, the tree was bare of leaves. See how that works? It means the tree was empty. There were no leaves on it. And pay attention to that little word of. We often say something is bare of something else. The walls were bare of pictures. The room was bare of furniture. All right, fantastic. Let's move on to our second group of words. This set is all about improvement, progress, and how we talk about the people around us. So just think for a second. How do we actually talk about making things better, or the friends in our lives? Well, this next set of words is going to give us some great tools for exactly that. Okay, our first word in this section is enhance. To enhance something just means to improve it, to make it better in some way. You could also use words like boost, enrich, or refine. For example, you can enhance a photo by changing the colors. It just makes it better. Next up, we have the word overtime. Now, this isn't about working extra hours. This overtime means something happens gradually over a period of time. It's kind of like the word progressive, happening slowly in stages. A good sentence would be, she learned the new skill overtime. Number 8 is the adjective determining. A determining factor is the single most important thing that helps you make a decision. It's the key reason. It's a lot like the words decisive or definite. So you might say, price was the determining factor in my decision to buy this car. All right, now for 2 words that go together, bargain and haggle. A bargain is a thing, it's a really good deal, something you bought for a great price. Now the action you might take to get that bargain is to haggle. To haggle means you negotiate and discuss the price, trying to get it lower. And our last one for this section is mate. This is a super common and friendly, informal word for a friend. You hear it all the time in places like the UK and Australia. Other words you could use are companion or buddy. You might just say, I'm meeting up with a few of my mates later. So, let's just make sure we've got this straight. A bargain is the result. It's the cheap thing you bought. Haggling is the process. It's the arguing and negotiating you do before you buy it. So you haggle with the seller so that you can get a bargain. Okay, ready for part 3? Let's do it. In this section, we're going to look at words for concepts and ideas, but also for some real physical places. First up, we have ray and beam. Now, both of these are about light. A ray is usually a single thin line of light. Think of a single ray of sunshine coming through the clouds. A beam, on the other hand, is usually wider and much stronger, like the headlight beams from a car. Number 12 is the word tutor. A tutor is simply a private teacher.
someone who helps you one-on-one with a specific subject, like math or English. It's a bit different from a guru, who is more like a spiritual guide, or a master, who is a true expert at a craft or skill. Next, we have a business word, overhead. Overhead refers to all the regular, ongoing costs of running a business, things like rent, electricity, and salaries. A very common word that means almost the same thing is expense. A boss might say, "Our overhead is too high this month." Then there's the word fantasy. A fantasy is something you imagine, a situation that isn't real. It belongs to a whole group of words about things that aren't real, like imaginary, dream, and fiction. And the last one here is another word family. The place is a pharmacy. That's the shop where you go to get medicine. The person working there is a pharmacist. And to be a pharmacist, you need to have a special official permission called a license.
So, just to make that super clear, a ray is often small and delicate. We even use it metaphorically, like a ray of hope. But a beam is strong and powerful. Think of the big steel beams that hold up a skyscraper, or those bright headlight beams cutting through the dark. It's all about the scale and the intensity.
Okay, here we are at our final section. And I'll tell you, these words, they pack a punch. We're going to be talking about some more intense situations and some very strong emotions.
So, how do we talk about life's really intense experiences? Things like crime, or extreme difficulty, or powerful fear. You need the right words for that. So let's learn a few of them right now. Let's start with a really important word family all about crime. Okay, so a criminal is the person who commits a crime. A crime, of course, is the illegal act. The verb, the action, is to offend. So a person who offends is an offender, and the illegal act can also be called an offense. They're all connected. Next, the verb grind. Now, literally, to grind something means to crush it into a fine powder, like grinding coffee beans. But we often use this word in a metaphorical way to describe a situation that is incredibly difficult and just wears you down. That's where we get the powerful phrase, grinding poverty. Okay, number 18, specialist. A specialist is someone who is an expert in one very specific area. Expert is a great synonym for it. For example, you wouldn't go to a general doctor for a serious eye problem. You'd go to an eye specialist. Now let's clear up the difference between cross and across. Cross is the verb, the action. It means to move from one side to the other. You cross the river. Across is a preposition. It tells you where something is. The store is across the street. And our final word for today is horror. Horror is a really, really strong feeling of fear, shock, and disgust. The adjective for it is horrific. It's in the same family as words like fear, frightful, or scary, but horror is much, much stronger. You might say, I watched the horror movie with my hands over my eyes. This little table here really helps to see how all those crime words fit together. You have the person, the criminal or offender. Then you have the act, the crime or offense. And finally, the verb, the action, to offend. When you see it laid out like this, it just makes so much more sense, doesn't it?
And let's look at this example one more time. She had to overcome grinding poverty. It's just such a powerful phrase. It's not just that she was poor. The word grinding makes you feel how constant and difficult it was, like something was crushing her every single day. It's a great example of how a simple word can be used to create a very strong image.
And there we have it, all 20 of our words. So, what's the big takeaway here? Well, the most important lesson today isn't just about the words themselves, it's about how we learn them.
So this is what I really want you to remember from our time together. Please, try not to learn words one by one in isolation. Instead, learn them in their families, just like we did today with words like criticize or criminal. When you learn the noun, the verb, and the adjective all at the same time, your brain starts to build connections. And trust me, that is the secret to building your vocabulary so much faster.
And that's everything for today, so I have one last question for you. Which one of these new words are you going to try to use first? Just pick one, try to put it in a sentence today. Make it your own. Thanks so much for joining me for this lesson.